Okay, hello and thanks for watching. I hope to have a great time together. So for this course, I have chosen to create a kind of a pirate island environment. And this is the reference board that I've gathered. And for removing any inconsistency, we are seeing only the most important ones. This is some kind of thing that I'm going for. I'm going to create an island, some kind of an islandish thing with a port, and we're going to place some kinds of tropical plants that you see in pirate movies. We're going to create some palms, some different variations of them, some banana trees, some ferns, and the island itself, which is going to be composed of a lot of rocks and water shader. We are going to create some trains and things like that. And this planning stage is probably the most important step when it comes to environment creation for games, because without the proper planning you're going to fail and the chance of success will reduce dramatically. And why this planning is so important? Because this planning is just like a foundation for a house, and then nobody is going to make a house without getting the foundations done. And the most important step in planning is gathering references. And these references will guarantee that you will create an environment that is as authentic as possible and will reduce the amount of guesswork that you have and will help you do a lot of informed decisions throughout the project. And we have chosen this theme of Pirate Island because it poses a lot of challenges. We need to create a good terrain to support that. We need to create some water shaders. We need to create a lot of rocks and plants and vegetations. And of course, we need to create some kind of a broken port that is being long abandoned. And I always love to do abandoned things because this broken stuff proved to be a lot more challenging than creating some healthy, clean, and untouched areas. And remember, for reference gathering, you need to have some things in mind. You need to have images that support the big, medium, and small shapes. You need to have images that contribute to the big image, to the things that we see the most when we are looking at the image from far away. So in here, we see the composition and how the trees have been placed together and how really the environment is being mixed with water. But this one doesn't not really help in deciding what type of palm we need to create. So we need to go and look for palm images and find images that are a little closer than those images that we saw. And you see in here, we have a lot of close-up images from all kinds of palms, shapes, and things that will help us. So you need to have references that will help you decide on what the big shapes are, what medium shapes are, and what a small shapes are. For example, in here we are able to distinguish a lot of details which are impossible to see, for example, in an image like this or in image like this. So have images from far shots, medium shots, and close-up shots. And that will help you a lot when creating environments. And of course, one of the reasons we have chosen to use this theme of island is using the nanite technology that Unreal Engine provides us. We're going to create high quality rocks without optimization, and we're going to import them directly from ZBrush without creating low poly versions of them, and this will really improve the quality of the scene overall. And we're going to use Lumen also to light our scene. The main DCC app for this tutorial is going to be Blender. We're going to do a lot of things in Blender, and we're going to use Substance package for texturing. And I mean Substance 3D Painter and 3D Designer. And we use ZBrush to detail a lot of things. And of course, we create the landscape using Gaia. Of course, for now, with the release of Unreal Engine 5 Early Access, the landscape isn't being picked up by Lumen, and you will understand why when we go to the lighting session. But for now, it's good to know that we create the landscape to be the blockout. Of course, we create the blockout landscape in Gaia and then replace it with high quality nanite meshes so that they are picked by Lumen and contribute to the lighting of the scene. And of course, one of the technologies that Unreal Engine provides us is the Mega Assembly tool. And by using Mega Assembly, we create natural elements like these cliffs and rocks and things, just like a modular approach. For example, we're going to create some variations of rocks, rotate them, displace them, scale them, and mix them together in a level to be as a preset and a prefab thing to be used in the environment. And of course, we're going to create a lot of plants and vegetations that are a bit harder to do, for example, than normal vegetations. These tropical plants have a lot of irregularities. You see in here, these banana leaves have a lot of irregularities in them and are a bit challenging to do, but we're going to overcome the challenge and do the things together. So we're going to create ferns also. And for ferns and things, we are going to use Blender to create the blockout, and then we detail them in ZBrush and use the alpha cutout technique to create foliage. 3D foliages and import them inside Unreal. Of course, for now, the foliages aren't supported by Lumen and Nanite either, so we're going to create them the old school way. And the foliage creation is going to be one of the most interesting parts that we have in this whole tutorial, and one of the longest ones, because we're going to do a lot of vegetation and plants, and of course we see the references for them later on when we go to the foliage creation. But for beginners, we're going to create the blockouts for them. Then after the blockout, we are going to iterate, and iterate more to make the environment done. And my way when it comes to environment creation is creating the blockout first, because the blockout is going to be the foundation and the stepping stone that will ensure that we create the environment as authentic as possible. And of course, we'll make sure that we have the environment in the right proportions and scales. And in the first sessions, we're going to create something like this with some gray boxes. Of course, we're going to give them color to understand the composition and the color of the environment a bit more, but the overall thing in the beginning sessions is going to be something like this. We're going to create some simple shapes, some elementary shapes that will resemble the whole thing that we're going to create. For example, if you're going to create a tree, we're going to import something like this cylinder and call it a tree in beginning stages. Because if we start to create a real tree in the beginning stages, it might happen in the future that we really do not need to use that. So if we throw it away, we are really wasting a lot of time because we have created a AAA asset that is never going to be used. So in the first places, we are going to use blockouts that resemble the shape and the big shapes to check out the composition, the camera placement, some colors, a little bit of lighting to see how the environment is going to be. And then we made sure that everything is working together perfectly. We start to create real props and assets and textures, materials, and things like that. We just need to make sure in the beginning stages that the environment is going to work perfectly. So it's good to resist the temptation of creating AAA assets in the first place and first start to create the blockout. And when we made sure, we start to improve these. And for the lighting also, we create some simple lighting passes that will help us make sure that the environment is working as it should and the composition and anything is going on. And then in the later stages, we start to iterate and layer and layer on top of lighting to create something beautiful. So now that we have a little bit of understanding of how the project is going to go, we are going to have a look at the softwares that we are going to use for this project, which are Blender, Gaia, ZBrush, Substance, and Unreal. And of course, that look isn't going to be so in-depth because this is not an introduction to Blender course, and we suppose that you have a little bit of familiarity with the softwares mentioned in the first place. But we're going to see the changes and some shortcuts that we have changed to improve the experience a little bit better. Okay, see you there.